Pretty something interesting. Christopher Nolan wrote the foreword to a new book called the Art and Making of the Dark Knight Trilogy. He wrote the foreword, which essentially, in his own way, was a goodbye letter to the Batman franchise. And it's pretty long, so bear with me. You guys know how I suck at reading. Um, so this is the actual letter. I'm reading it word for word, so bear with me. Alfred, Gordon, Lucius, Bruce Wayne, names that have come to mean so much to me. Today I am 3 weeks from saying a final goodbye to these characters and their world. It's my son's 9th birthday. He was born as the tumbler was being glued together in my garage from random parts of model kits. Much time, many changes, a shift from sets where some gunplay or a helicopter were extraordinary events to working days. Crowds of extras building demolitions and mayhem thousands of feet in the air have become familiar. People ask if I always plan a trilogy. This is like being asked whether you plan on growing up, getting married, having kids. The answer is so complicated. The answer is complicated. When David and I, being David Goyer, who was one of the co-writers of all the movies, and I first started cracking open Bruce's story, we flirted with sorry, something flew my way. We flirted with what might come after, then backed away, not wanting to look too deep into the future. I didn't want to know everything everything that Bruce couldn't. I wanted to live with him. I told David that Jonathan being his brother, who also wrote the Dark Knight trilogy, wanted Jonathan to put everything they knew into each film as we made it. The entire cast and crew put all they had into the first film. Nothing held back, nothing saved for the next time. They built an entire city. Then Christian, Michael, and Gary, and Morgan, and Liam, and Killian started living in it. Of course, that's being the big majority of the Batman Begins. Christian Bale, obviously not me, bit off a big chunk of Bruce Wayne's life and made it utterly compelling. He took us into a pop icon's mind and never let us notice for an instant the fascinating nature of Bruce's methods. I never thought we'd do a second, and how many good sequels are there? Why roll the dice? But once I knew where it would take Bruce, and when I started to see glimpses of the antagonist, it became essential. We reassembled the team and went back to Gotham. It had changed in 3 years, bigger, more real, more modern, and a new force of chaos was coming to the fore. The ultimate scary clown. Sorry, lost my place there for a second. The ultimate scary clown was bought. The ultimate scary clown, as brought to a terrifying life by Heath. He'd held nothing back, but there were things we hadn't been able to do first time out. A batsuit with a flexible neck, shooting an IMAX, and things we chickened out on, destroying the Batmobile, burning up the villain's blood money to show a complete disregard for conventional motivation. We took the suppressed security of a sequel as license to throw caution to the wind and headed to the darkest corners of Gotham. I never thought we'd do a third. Are there any great second sequels? But I kept wondering about the end of Bruce's story, and once David and I discovered it, I had to see it myself. We had come back to what we had barely dared whispered about in those first days in my garage. We had been making a trilogy. I called everyone back to get together to another tour of Gotham. 4 years later, it was still there. It even seemed a little cleaner, a little more polished. Wayne Manor had been rebuilt. Familiar faces were back, a little older, a little wiser, but not all was what it seemed. Gotham was rotting away at its foundations, a new evil bubbling from beneath. Bruce had thought Batman was not needed anymore, but Bruce was wrong, just as I had been wrong. The Batman had to come back. I suppose he always will. Michael, Morgan, Gary, Killian, Liam, Heath, Christian Bale, names that have come to mean so much to me. My time in Gotham, looking after one of the greatest and most enduring figures in pop culture, has been the most challenging and rewarding experience a filmmaker could ever hope for. I will miss the Batman. I like to think that he will miss me, but that's never been particularly sentimental. So that was Christopher Nolan's kind of a love letter, or not love letter, but goodbye letter to the Batman series, and very, very, very cool to read that. and it sucks. It does suck. And Christopher Nolan and Christian Bale are done with the Batman movies. Christopher Nolan says he's done, and Christian Bale said that if Christopher Nolan does a really good story, and only if he comes back and has a good story, that he'll come back as well. But Christopher Nolan said that he's done, so it's done. And not just being a big Batman fan, and not just being a big fan of Christopher Nolan and everybody that was involved in the Batman trilogy, we will never see. I don't think we'll ever see, any type of superhero movies, being Batman or any other superhero movies, that will ever be as good as that. You know, Christopher Nolan did really a great job of making these incredible movies that just happen to be comic book movies that had a comic book character, and one of the most popular comic book characters. And despite what people say, the flaws that are in the movie, every movie has a flaw. And yes, no movie is perfect, but Christopher Nolan has made some really amazing movies, and the Batman trilogy, the Dark Knight trilogy, well, he's calling it the Dark Knight trilogy, is, well, in my mind, go down as one of the best, not only one of the best trilogies in movie history, which I think might be getting ahead of myself there, but I'm pretty sure I'm not alone out there. But they are really just, if not the best movie trilogy in movies ever, it will be the best movie trilogy that we have in comic books and comic book movies. So I don't know. That's just me. So let's move on.